Hey everybody, we're here with another live doctor and a priest walk into a podcast. It's been a while, Uncle Ted, since we've done one of these. Holidays have passed, a lot has happened. How have you been?
I've been, I hate to say the word, but busy. I've been doing very well, back to healthy, thanks be to God.
Good.
So, yeah.
Busy doing what?
Well, saying masses in the local churches. I just did a mission, a 3-day session in a Catholic parish near Columbus. And I just came from hearing confessions for the local grade school. I think I heard confessions for about 60 to 70 children, things like that.
Oh man, I would love to know what they say in the in those confessions.
They're practically all the same. I'll tell you that much.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, today we're going to talk about big topics, that's for sure. And one of them is something big happened since we've been together on this podcast. And it's that the Catholic bishops of the United States had a vote and came together to say, what is our stance on immigration in the United States? And that's a pretty political thing to do, and the Catholic Church being in some ways an apolitical organization, in other ways a very political organization. So would love to understand that and where that all came from, and then what does that mean for you when the bishops make a stance on a subject that you might not be completely aligned with or are completely aligned with. What does that do for your kind of daily job? So yeah, would love to get a little lowdown of that.
Well, this issue I've become very personally involved with because I'm with my order has a committee working on this and people from all around the country. In fact, last Saturday night, we had a session here in the city of Dayton, a vigil at the courthouse, place where Lincoln spoke back in 1861, I think it was, yeah. And the vigil was to bring attention to this immigration issue. And you really have to be diplomatic when talking about it because there's so many strong feelings on each side. It's like any leader having to say the truth, but not make the opponent feel downgraded, which is a real tough skill. As a politician, you're gonna have to know that.
Right. How do you disagree with still being respectful and still creating an opening for that person to kind of walk into agreeing with you, or also keeping yourself open to maybe agreeing with them? So.
That's right. Just briefly, let me tell you, someone said to me yesterday when John Paul II was the bishop in Krakow, Poland, before he became Pope, and he would talk to the people and the communists, but he would do it in a way that he wasn't talking down to the communists. I think he was talking to their hearts. And eventually, that's what really brought down the communist regime. He was really clever at that. But about the immigration thing it's very significant that the bishops could have a unanimity in taking a position. And there's about 160, 200 and 170 bishops, I think, in the country. And at the meeting, they meet twice a year, but at this meeting, they voted 164 to 5 against a resolution regarding immigration. And their resolution basically is to respect the fact that the government has a right to, control borders, but also primarily that every human being has to be treated with dignity. And so what is in the Pope Leo has encouraged them to come out with that statement, because it's not because it's a political position. It's just a fundamental human rights position. You have to treat every human being with dignity, and the policy present in the country is not doing that. You know, it is just mistreating the dignity of people, and it's immoral. So you have to come out with a statement like that. What I said at this rally we had last week, was President Lincoln, when he spoke to the people in Dayton back there in 1861, he was opposing Stephen Douglas. Douglas wanted the slavery to continue in the Northwest Territories, and Lincoln was against it, and they used to fight with each other or disagree with each other. And Lincoln said, when the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence were signed, the founders knew that slavery had eventually to go. And well, in a sense, this treatment of treating people inferiorly in immigration is a form of slavery. It's taking a group of people who are called because they have disobeyed some maybe minor laws, condemning them without justice.
No.
And it's just an immoral position.
So what we see, and what I see from talking to a lot of people, as you do as well, is that our news sources are very, very different, right? And what we're fed on our social media feeds, and the same exact headline can be very different on Fox News as it is on MSNBC. And the more you speak to people who consume kind of very rightward news, what they're seeing on their feeds is not necessarily things that you're talking about in terms of violation of human rights. So, in fact, they're not seeing that. They're seeing, some of the stories around rounding up criminals and people who have criminal records and etc. There was a situation the other day where people who were in a naturalization ceremony where they were, being sworn in essentially as citizens, were kind of picked up before they went in to do that and never got to be citizens, right? Wow. And so there are people who are, I spoke to a voter the other day who voted for Donald Trump, voted for the entire kind of Republican slate, who was very upset, whose wife was half Latina, and whose her cousin lived in Chicago and was on someone else's TikTok video because he was dragged out in his underwear onto the street and arrested with his underwear. Wasn't allowed to be able to put clothes on before he got arrested. And so it's a situation, no matter, like you're saying, no matter what the quote unquote crime is, or what the quote unquote misdemeanor is, or what the quote unquote, whatever it is that's incited the ICE and arrests that happen, it's still being done many times in an inhumane way. And it feels like what the Catholic bishops were taking dead aim at that, so much than, like you said, the right to defend your border, the right to have closed borders.
Yeah. Well, it's so important to have a group take a strong moral stand, even though so much media is against it. But people need to find what is the truth. And if you have leadership holding on to that, that is very, very helpful. You know, politicians have to do that. You know, not cave into what they know is up is wrong. And even if there's all kinds of media against you, the truth, and that's one of the things the Pope even criticized the present administration in this country because they were taking the wrong position on immigration. And is he interfering with American politics? Well, no, he's just telling people what is the truth, you know. And that's very important that that be done.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's hard, right? It's hard when you're in the moment, in the moment, and you're part of a community, and that community involves media, and that community involves sharing messages, and at times you can get into an echo chamber on both sides of the aisle, on both sides of an issue, where you're seeing one part of the story and not the whole part of the story, and so I do try to think and give some grace because of that. But at the same time, you do need people, leaders like the Pope, to come out and show the truth of what is happening, and make sure that those artificial lines are broken down. So it's nice to see that, and not only that, but then you have all of these bishops, right? It was. How many? 4? Was 100?
164 bishops and only 5
bishops and 5 again.
Yeah.
And I know there was some who's abstained as well. So, but yeah, for the most part,
maybe 3 of them I think abstained, something like that. Yeah.
3 abstained. And you said that the Pope encouraged them to come out with this statement. Did he encourage them to say a particular statement, or to talk about it amongst themselves to come up with what they believed?
Well, he took the position of the dignity of the human person. That's the main position he took, and that what's being done now. By the way, the United States, signed a bill from our Congress, the Refugee Act, way back in 1980, agreeing to the asylum policies. We agreed to take asylum candidates of people that are, in areas that they're being threatened with their lives, and we've given that to people, and then now the present government is taking it away. That's really against the law of the United States to do that.
Yeah.
I don't think the people realize that the present administration is disobeying their own laws that we have as a government.
Right. Yeah.
So, and that was a bill signed for many countries back in 1980. So how do you get all that news out? It's not easy.
Well, I guess the question is, what does it mean for your job? What does it mean for your day-to-day when the Catholic bishops of the United States come together and come up with some sort of statement, some decree, as they have? How does that, whether it's this about immigration or anything, what is that? How does that get distributed to you? Or are there expectations now, even though you're a Marianist and outside of the structure? What does this mean for you?
Well, for me, I'm in a religious community. We all agree on this, and I'm at a university where the basic policy of the university is in favor of the policy of the church, and the university has to be, in a sense, quiet. Not if you say too much, they attack you, and you'll be attacked in all kinds of other areas. So you sort of lay low in some sense. But we're all agreeing here. But then you try to figure out how you influence people. So I've been on this committee for about 3 weeks, and there's a peace museum here in Dayton, and they and a couple of other groups sponsored this vigil we had. So we really worked hard on it. last Saturday night and had about 60 people come out. And we heard testimony, wonderful testimony. There's one man who was a Muslim, who was a chaplain in the Cincinnati Children's Hospital, and he had an asylum. He was here on asylum, legally, but they put him in jail. They put him in jail in Butler County here for 60 days, and he described the horrible positions there. Very lack of food. He said he didn't see sunlight for 60 days and in cold in these big cells. And he said the majority of the people there with him were not in any sense criminals, So he described that situation. So we try to publish that kind of information, and a lot of people, want to hear. You do your best to publish what you know is the truth, while respecting everybody's opinion. And I preach about this in church a lot.
Yeah.
And this one fellow in the church said to me, Father, don't talk about politics. And I really seek hard not to be political, but to get to the morality of something. And just to speak about that rather than the political parties involved in it.
Right.
So we have to make the differentiation between a position of a political party and what is the morality of something.
Sure. Sure. So have you spoken about this in any homilies in what the U.S. Catholic bishops came out with?
I did. I gave quotes from it. I gave the position a number of homilies, saying that. And always being careful not to turn off anybody that's against it. So that takes really a lot of thought on how you do that. So anyway, one thing I've done is I give a quote. I often give a quote from what Leo said or what I could quote of the bishops, So that helps to do that, and respecting the rights of the country to have, proper control of the borders.
So what are the next steps? What did the bishops say? Any action items, calls to action, or was it more of a statement of justice? Yeah.
Well, there's a committee of the bishops run by a Bishop Seitz, who is a bishop on the border, the Mexican border, and he has a very strong committee, and they constantly are encouraging, they care for schools so that schools are not, invaded by ICE, care for churches, that churches can still be considered sanctuary places, positions like that. If I could think of the other examples of the things they're doing, encouraging education in these matters. What those kinds of things that are happening.
Yeah. So they're, as an organization, as a leadership, are making active steps toward being part of this fight, if you will.
There's certain bishops in the country too that are more outspoken. There's a Bishop Cardinal McElroy from Washington D.C. who's very outspoken.
And I guess, what does this mean for everyday Catholics? And are you seeing people defect from the church around this at all because it's so politically divisive, or not come closer, or not? Yeah,
I don't see that. Even the students that I come across, a lot of them are not paying attention enough to it. Anybody that has a friend who is, of a different color skin, they become more conscious of it, and gradually they open themselves up to thinking about it, So it's a gradual. I don't really hear anybody against the Catholic position. Although
Hmm.
I did give a homily once, and afterwards the woman, she was kind, but she was really strong, saying, "I know the terrible things that immigrants are doing," and so she was completely on the other side, uh, and she was convinced of what she was saying, but she left, so I couldn't even dialogue with her. So,
Yeah.
people are very strong in their opinions on this. Is no weak um, reality that's going on. People have very strong opinions, and the present administration has a base of people who really believe in it.
Yeah.
So it's going to take a lot of hard work of good representatives in Congress to work this.
So, well, like on that note, just we have a few more minutes here on this short episode, but I just wanted to talk about Advent for a second and Christmas, and um, we're in the Advent season. Is there anything you want to say about and educating people to what that really means, what the purpose of that is, where to come from, uh,
Yes.
and why do we
Mm-hmm.
and how do we, and versus the, Americanization, commercialization of Christmas, and what, Advent has become is more of a anticipation of the material items of Christmas in so
Mm-hmm.
many ways, and where that diversion happened.
You asked the right question. So I want to tell you what is the main message I gave to this mission that I spoke in this wonderful church near Columbus. So I talked about the Blessed Mother the whole time. And Advent, of course, is the birth of Christ. And the Advent, we're sort of waiting for fullness to come into our lives. We wait for that. And the essence really of the relationship of Mary and Jesus is very significant because Mary is a symbol of someone completely open to God. And um, when you have a relationship between two people, like a husband and wife, or between friends, an authentic relationship is when you don't tell the other person what you want and insist that they tell you they give you what you want. No, you trust the other person. And therefore you grow in this relationship of trust. Well, the relationship between Jesus and Mary is basically mutual absolute trust in each other.
Hmm.
And um, the one of the great saints of the church, Teresa of Lisieux, who was really a doctor of the church, fundamentally for this reason, that she absolutely trusted this reality of God in her life, or the reality of Christ. And Mary rather, and Jesus had this relationship of, what we Christians believe that Christ is the Son of God, and Mary completely cooperating with that. And out of that came a whole new reality. And that's Advent is preparing ourselves for that kind of a relationship, complete openness to the goodness of God, like Mary was. And uh, she's such, and Mary is, I kept saying to myself, what does it mean to relate to Mary? It's like having a companion. There's so many devotions to Mary around the world, and so many shrines and pictures and hymns. Well, she reminds you of this way you live of complete acceptance of God's love.
Hmm.
It's hard. You don't make another person. You receive. You're constantly receiving. Even in this question of immigration, it's like if we could listen deeply to each other, we would receive, the truth from each other and deeply accept it. But it's so hard. But that's what Christmas really is. It's a learning to accept this absolute goodness we're invited into. Well, you asked the right question.
Well, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. We have we have comments from viewers from time to time here, and I want to share this one, Uncle Ted. It's a hard one here, from someone who says only facts matter. As a cradle Catholic, I prefer Trump than the politicized Catholicism of Biden. Yeah,
Mhm.
what does that mean to you? How do you respond to that? You
Mhm.
know, someone says that to you, which someone just did. They're looking. They're looking. That person's obviously sharing an opinion, but they're also looking for
Mhm.
opinions, for answers. Yeah.
Well, what happens in politics is it becomes a populism. In other words, what is popular becomes the policy, and it's often policy of Biden's or of Trump. They because they are popular, certain groups, like the MAGA group or I guess the Biden group, they accept it. Then that becomes sort of the truth. But it often isn't the truth. It's just an emotional attachment to often an extreme. So we have to say, what are the facts? What are the facts? And the judgment is actually that one of the biggest things that Pope Leo is trying to help people of the world, the Catholics, know is dialogue. To deeply listen, to get to the facts, and then take responsibility when you know the facts to do something about them in the correct way, something like you're trying to do as a representative. So we often think we have the facts, but we don't have the facts, where it's really coming from an emotional position. Often, I'm not saying about this person, but
Yeah.
that's what happens.
But I love this concept that at a broader level, popularity and truth aren't necessarily the same.
You said it.
Um, yeah, that's a very interesting comment, and I will take that as the lesson for today that you give us, Father Ted. Popularity and truth aren't the same. So
That's right.
thank
All
you.
right.
Yeah, thank you so much again for all your time. Good to see you. Hopefully, I see you during the Christmas season sometime.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for everything that you do for people and the issues and that you fight for.
I'd love to see you smiling. A politician smiling is a great thing.
Well, today is a big day.
Yeah,
I'm
may it
not sure
go
if you
well.
know, but yeah, the
Mhm.
Indiana Senate is in session as we speak, voting on debating and then voting on gerrymandering of the
Mhm.
state. And
Mhm.
it's so funny, I almost want to say redistricting because you're not supposed to say gerrymandering because is it
Mhm.
gerrymandering or isn't it? I mean, this blatantly is gerrymandering, and they are owning up to the fact that it is political gerrymandering that they're doing.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's what we're doing right now. Is just waiting to see if we're going to be gerrymandered, and I think it's
Mhm.
we can get political on that for sure. But whether it's Republicans or Democrats doing it, it is shaving off the beauty of people being different. Right? It's taking away the silencing
Mhm.
voices and not having that
Mhm.
beautiful friction that happens in American society that allows us to move forward. And I hope we can maintain that friction because it's what makes us great.
Keep saying it, Tim. Keep saying it.
All right. We'll see you later. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you all.
Okay.
Merry